The recording has started, so all I've done is I've added 2 buttons and I added the frames to the background. So you see basic and advanced is there, but I just clicked and I dragged it there. Now when I click on basic, I want to take it there. Firstly, we want to make our layout look a bit better. So one thing we can do is we can use our grid layout, and our grid layout we can set on how we want it to look. So for example, I could make it 1 column 2 rows, and then that would change it to this way around. And you can also work with the gaps, so I can make it a horizontal gap of 20 and a vertical gap of 20. And you'll see that'll give it more space. Your guys' choice on how you want to work with that though. So this is my 1 frame, so if I ran it, it would look like this. That looks ugly as anything. But you get the idea. So you can mess around with that. And you can work with the, you'll see under the frame properties, you can also work with the sizes. I'm not going to show you all of that. You guys play around with those sort of things. Now, when I click basics, I want to show this basics frame that I created. Do you guys get that? So remember what I told you is when you double click on something, you're creating a action. So events, action, action, perform, meaning that some action has happened on that button. What you'll notice in your generated code, what you're actually doing is you're adding an action listener. You're telling the computer, listen to this component. Now, we just go double click on it and it does it. But you've got to realize it's actually creating, I've said this to you guys repeatedly, this button is an object. It is a class. Like we've created a GUI class, this button is a class that someone else created. This button is a class someone else created. This frame is a class that someone else created. And we are using instances of them. Do you guys get that? Mm-hmm. Now, when I click basic, I am wanting it to open a method. Now, I do not want you ever to code inside here directly because I do not want to have to go through all of this stuff to get to your code that you coded. Everything I mark is above the generated code. Now, I do know some of you have coded your calculators inside here, and I will look for that. But realize that when it comes to matric pats and things like that, we'll often have to create a PDF version of your code that we can physically put marks onto that we will send through for moderation. Now, I do not print your generated code. So I only print up to page whatever where your generated code starts. That's it to the PDF. I'm not going to print all of that, so I will not mark anything below there. So in this case, we want to go public void show basic. Now, on the show basic, we want to, if we take a look at our static void main, and here we'll call our show basic, which will run the show basic method. Now, public static void main, when I press play on my program, public static void main is the method that runs. Now you'll see there it goes java.awt.eventqueue.invoketable.new runnable blah 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 public void run freaky deaky new GUI set visible to true. Damn. Okay? In a nutshell, this is saying, do you guys understand the concept of a thread?
Yes, more or less.
Okay. Right, the idea of a thread is when a single, so let's say when we're running, I'm going to actually use Excel. It's not a best example to do this, but let's say we're using Excel. I've got A, B, C, D. Okay. Now this is what needs to get executed. If you make a process in a thread, so let's say process C came as a thread. In other words, it is considered separate to the rest of the program. In other words, when you create a thread, it's the same. All A, B, C, and D are all parts of the alphabet program, right? But when you code it, when you do something, well, hello, I just did something very weird. So when now C is now a separate to the rest of the program, even though it is still part of the alphabet, it is separate, which means it can be executed simultaneously. So it can run at the same time as something else. So one part of the program can be doing. Now, if you take a look at the frame, a frame is a graphic user interface which is looking for when I click buttons. It's listening. Now, if it's spending its whole time listening for buttons and things like this, can it do anything else? No, because it's focused on that. So you create it as a new thread, meaning it can run simultaneously with something else. Where else do you think you need a new thread? What about in a timer if I have a counter? What if I have any animation? What if I'm looking at communicating on a network? What if I'm looking at, because on a network you're listening for stuff that's happening on the network. The moment you do anything like that, you need to create it as a separate thread because it can't stop the rest of your program running. Just because I'm listening to the network doesn't mean the rest of my program has to stop. Do you guys get that? Just because I'm trying to listen to a button or listen to actions doesn't mean the rest of my program has to stop. Now, it says there new GUI. So this up here creates a thread. This down here says in this thread create a new instance of GUI. Now this class is called GUI, isn't it? So that actually runs this method up here. If you guys click on this method, if I go control and I click, wherever you go, if I press control click, it'll take you to that method. So for example, if I go control click and go set visible, it takes me to window.java.setVisible. Wow. So it actually takes you to the method that is run there. If you press control and you click on it, it takes you to the method. So now it takes me to this GUI method which initializes my components. Do you guys get that? So that is what happens there. Now, in this case, in my show basic, I want other stuff to happen. I want my frame. What did I call the frame? I called it basics. And I can run the method set visible, and I can set that to be true. Now, a very important thing, when I press this stuff, right, you see it comes up with a whole bunch of different methods, and when you go over it, it comes up with an explanation of what the methods are. This has got to do with API documentation. Now, you need to be paying attention, please, because this is important stuff. If I go set and I start typing invisible, now remember, control spacebar is your friend. Are you guys focused? Are you not looking at me or the board? When you do that, you control spacebar is your friend. It comes up with explanation to what that method is. It can help you. It says to me, one, it tells me it's void. On the far right, it tells me it's void. So where I'm moving my mouse now, I don't even know if I'm recording the mouse, but on the right of it, it shows me that it says void. Now, in here, in the brackets, it says Boolean B, which means it's not returning anything, meaning it's doing something, and it expects a Boolean. Do you guys know what a Boolean is? True or false. A Boolean is true or false. It exists or doesn't. Now, so if I said false, set visible will mean you will not see it. If I say true, it will mean you. Yeah, it means that you do see it. Now, I want to do the same thing for my show advanced, don't I? So now Control C. Sometimes Control C, Control V is your friend. So now for my show advanced.
No, not that. Come on, man. I see kind of sad.
Okay, now when I go back to the design view and I click on advanced, I want to run the show ADV. Now, guys, there's too much talking going on in the background. When we've got this, I now will run this program. Now, firstly, you'll see my basics and my advanced doesn't have anything in it. So when I run it, and it'll ask me to choose my main, it'll pop up with a window. Now, this window is popped up on my other screen because of the fact that it's, yeah. So this is my, now you notice it's too small, right? But basics advanced. So when I click basics, you'll notice again it pops up on my wrong screen. But you'll see that there's nothing in there, but it did pop up. And when I click advanced, it'll also pop up on the wrong screen. But it'll pop up with advanced. So basic will pop up with basic, advanced will pop up with advanced. Do you guys get that? Mm-hmm. So these buttons now work. It now switches between my frames. And when I close this, it'll exit the whole thing. So if you look at the properties here, on my main frame, so if I go to my, here, if I go to my main frame, it says default close operation, exit on close. So this is my navigation frame. This is my advanced frame. This is my other frame. Now, there's one thing I wanted to talk about here is we now want to design our advanced frame and our basics frame. I'm just going to create a very basic layout. So excuse me while I do this. I want to set a border layout because I want a certain area to become bigger than the other area. I'm going to have a panel on the bottom, and I'm going to have a label at the top. I'm going to edit this text to 0. I'm going to set the text to have a large font size, and I'm going to set it to be bold. Actually, not that large. Let's go to here for now. Okay, and I want it to be center aligned. Now at the bottom here, I want to have, if I wanted the user to input a number, how would I normally do that? To input something.
A text area.
Now a text area is nice, but a text area would only allow you to enter in any text, right? But what if you wanted to limit the user to input only numbers?
Buttons.
You can use something called a spinner. Now a spinner, as I say, all of these GUI components are classes that other people have created. So if I add a spinner to here, and now you'll see at the bottom here, there's an option of model. Do you see on the right hand side of the properties, it's model? If I go to the 3 dots, you'll see that it says model type, and I can change it from being, I can say only accept a date, only accept it from a list, or I can say a number. So if I say number, only allow integers, I can state there a minimum of 1 and let's say a maximum of 10. Then that means that the user is now limited. When I run this program, the user is limited to only enter numbers. It does not allow me to enter any text. Okay, it does. But, okay, I'm guessing when I press play, it shouldn't allow me to enter any numbers. But and then from there, I would want to. You guys will remember this from our pseudocode days. No. Now, when we do this, this would have created my my class here. I want to now, I'm going to set this layout to be flow layout, just so it looks a bit prettier. Now, flow layout just adds things as it goes and just puts them next to each other. Now, when I press count up, I want to display this in a count up. I want to count up from 0 up to whatever. When I say count down, I want to count down from it. So basically, if I ran this now, and I pressed basics, which you guys can't see because it's on this window, when I click, if I press here 5 and I go count up, should count up to 5, 0 to 5. And if I press there, now let's just check if it allows me to enter something like that. You check, guys. If I enter in a number like that, and as soon as I click something else, it'll change back to the number. It doesn't allow input of that. Guys, did you see that?
Yeah.
So the graphics, the GUI component limits what the user can do. But GUI components, these are classes that other people have created. Ethan, are you focused? Yeah. If that's how you focus, I'm happy with it. It's just what you're going to do here is we now need to, when you click count up, we want to count up. So I'm going to go and I'm going to delete this. I'm going to say count up, open brackets, close brackets, semicolon. Now we're going to code our count up here, public void count up. Now in our count up method, we are wanting to count up to the value. Now firstly, int min, we're going to set our minimum to 0. Int max, our max is what the user inputs. So remember, if you ever have to refer to something in code, what do you have to do? You must name it, otherwise you're not going to know what it's called, right? So we're going to change the variable name to but max or but num.
Isn't the max 10?
No, it's not a button, sorry, it's a spinner. SPN. No, the max isn't 10. The max is what the user inputs. So if the user inputs 5, it's 5. Because I want to count up to 5. Now, max is going to be equal to the spinner number. Now, if I take a look, dot get. Whoa! What can I do now? Look here. Get value returns what data type? That thing, we know it's number because we specified that this is going to only contain numbers. But realize I could have made this model be an integer only. I could have made this model to be whatnot. I could have made it anything. But now, select value, we know is an integer, but it returns an object. So it's going to give me an error and saying, I am trying to put an object into a number. They're not the same data type.
Yeah.
So what you can do is basically put a hammer to it. Now, this is called casting. Now, casting means I don't care what you are, you're a number now. Now, that can cause issues, But we know we've limited it already graphically. We've limited it to a model that, and technically I could go SPM number dot get model dot get whatever. There's a longer way around it, but I can just cast it because I'm confident it's there. But now this could potentially cause issues. Yes.
So it causes an issue if you like put a T into your box.
Well, yes, but
And it's like, hey, this is
I showed you already when I pressed T and I clicked off of it, automatically reverted back to number. So yes, it could cause an issue. But just for interest's sake, we are going to add some protective coding in here as well, just in case. And that protective coding we're going to do is, you see this little light bulb here on the right, which you guys have pressed before and you guys have messed up your code completely. I've seen a couple of that.
makes no sense.
I'm going to show you an area where I can highlight it and I can go surround with, and I want you to surround with a try. So you highlight it and you surround with a try. Now it will surround it with a try and a catch. Now a try and a catch means I am going to try this code. If it fails, do the catch. So if it fails,
English, there's always a catch.
I am now going to go JOption pane. Now JOption pane is a class. You guys can learn this off by heart. This is just, it's a class that someone else created. Again, we are always using stuff that other people created. My spinner that I added to that, that's a class someone else created. JOption pane is a class someone else created. And I can use a method called, there's a show message dialog box. And I can say,
This is error. This is no good.
fail. Now, I'm going to go through this in a little bit more detail because it's worthwhile doing. Exception E, this is a, what is called, guys, I want to notice, is that there's an exception E here. Now, this is what's called a parameter, meaning that it will get passed through to this. Now, if an error occurs, it will go into exception E, and then it will change it into an exception, and it will display a message. Yes.
So E is for error.
E, no, exception.
Ah.
So E, remember like here I've said int min, right? This is the exact same thing. I could do this. I could go exception E, semicolon. You are declaring it. Exception is a data type. Okay, it doesn't like that, but exception is a data type. And I'm calling the specific exception that has thrown E. And then here I'm displaying the E, what the E is about. Yes. Yes, go. Now, good luck with your tennis, eh? Now, when I refer, notice is that this is not going to throw an error because we know it's not going to throw an error, right? So just throw, yes, that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to throw through the value 10. So 10 is now being thrown. Okay, that's not going to like it. It doesn't like it because it knows it's going to be an error before. I'm going to try to figure out how. Okay, I'm going to throw an error by another way. Show message. Damn it.
Whoa! Okay.
Yeah, ignore, literally, what I'm doing, input dialog. Guys, quiet please. It doesn't like me doing this because it's an object that's going through there. I don't know how to actually make this throw an error. Everything I'm doing here is telling me, oi, it's wrong. Because it's knowing it's wrong. Turns out I can't spell. Now, okay. I'm actually just going to do this. I'm going to say,
So can I ask you a question? How long does it take you to type a one-page essay?
not long if I know what I'm talking about, but it depends if I know what I'm talking about. No, I'm quite quick, but it's not. Alright, guys, now, weirdly, I'm not actually making an error, I'm just literally throwing an exception. Now, if you actually caused any error, it would throw an exception and it would create a new exception and it would throw it. So basically, it's going to say now, fail, bacon likes cheese. I have no idea why that says that, but so if I run this now, let's save all of it. Let's close what we were running because we'd run it before. I'm then going to say basic. I'm going to run the basic screen, which is not on here. Where's the basic screen? Okay, so when I go to count up, you'll see there, it pops up with a dialog box that says, fail, java.lang exception, bacon likes cheese. It sends an alert to the user to say, hey, there was an error. Because of whatever. So, now for me, I forced an error, but you do sometimes need to catch errors because there can potentially be errors. So for example, earlier, when you took the text box inputs and it wasn't limited to that, and you did integer passing for your calculator, the user could type in text there, right?
Yeah.
And if they then press the plus sign or whatever, it would then go, whoa, and it'll try to convert it into an integer and you get a red underline. I'm sure you guys have seen it. The program just terminates because it doesn't know how to move on. The user types in text and it tried to convert it to an integer. It didn't know how to proceed. So try catch says, if I can't proceed, do this. So it's kind of like you guys have seen in Terminator in some movies and things where a computer does not, it just freezes because it doesn't know how to proceed. It's like, I've gone into, I can't understand, it cannot compute further. A try catch is something that will catch the error and go, if I've completely gone bonkers, I can't execute this, do this. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So that's a try catch. Now we actually want to count up from this minimum to that maximum, right? So you guys are going to be introduced to loops. Now I can go int I is equal to 0 semicolon while open brackets I is less than or equal to max. And
What's wrong with this thing, Steve?
I don't know. It's one of those days. Right now, with this, I then would need to go I is equal to I plus 1 semicolon. I am then going to go and say I'm going to create a string here. I am then going to say display is equal to display plus I. I'll tell you what, plus a comma. And then I'm going to go, and here I'm going to go txt or LBL. Did I name my label?
No.
Bad me. What should I always do? Name things I want to refer to in code.
I just got to say J button 1. Whatever.
So LBL display dot set text to be display.
Yeah.
Now when I go count up, if I run this, I think I did. So first I'm just going to close my previous version that was running. I'm now going to run it. Again, it's a bit annoying because this is not my main screen, so everything pops up on the other screen. I should maybe just set this as my main screen.
So, yeah, I think you should do that too.
So,
Yeah?
could you code it to like refresh itself?
That's next phase. Hold on. So now, when I go and I click, and I say 7, right?
Yeah.
And I go count up 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, now, do you guys get that we followed the same rules as we learned when we did pseudocode, but it's now with a specific syntax. We have to get the input from the user. I use the spinner,
So the spin number is the spinner thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
and then I converted it into an integer. Now, guys, remember everything green here is stuff that I've created. Display is a variable I created. So there's not a magic thing called spin number. It's a spin field that I added into my user interface. So over here, this is called SPN counter. I know some of you guys made the mistake with LBL display or TXT display. You started just typing it in, and I was like, no, I named something that.
It's confusing.
I know.
Do you need brackets around int spin number, or can you just leave that?
This here, yes, because this is casting. It's when you're specifically forcing it into the box. Casting is the hammer time
Yeah.
that I was referring to. It's not good coding. It's not perfect coding, but it basically says, I know this is going to be an integer. Be an integer. Yes.
So then so in that int max, the line where your cursor, no,
Run your program.
up one, just go up that line, yes. No, the int max equals int spin number thingy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you declared a variable and you,
Initialize on the same line. Yes.
yeah, is that fine?
Yes.
So you can do it separately if you want.
Yes.
Okay.
Guys, I like that question. Same thing. Guys, did you get that question?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Okay, great.
The other thing that we've got here, I'm going to show you a couple of little shortcuts now. Now, please know this. This way is 100%. Nothing wrong with this. Do you guys get me? Nothing. But I'm going to show you something. Firstly, I plus plus. Whoever's doing that, please stop that. Now, I plus plus is the same as saying I is equal to I plus 1. Same thing.
Okay.
I plus plus increments by 1. Second thing I'm going to show you. Plus equals is the same as saying display is equal to display plus. Nice little shortcuts. Something else that is much easier than this is if I go for tab. It initializes I at 0. We would stop I at max. I would then say display plus equals I plus comma.
You just explained it, bro. It's the same as saying display is equal to display.
Display plus.
Now, so firstly, the for loop is you use only when you know the number of times you're going to loop. Now, because we've got max here, we know the number of times we want to loop, right?
Yeah.
So I start at 0, I end at when it's less than max. Now I might want to include max, so I put less than or equal to. R plus plus means it increments each time. That while loop we had, this is the exact same thing. All of this, Java added to be shorthand, so when doing it we can code it quicker. It's got nothing to do with logic. The logic is the same. It's shorthand, so it's quicker. Scott had a first question. I'm just going to pause the video while we ask these questions, just in case they're not valid.
Okay, so
Questions were valid, so sorry, Scott. Sorry, got it. But the first question was if the plus plus increments at the end, and yes, it increments at the end of each iteration. It would go plus plus. And the second question was, what if I wanted to plus by 2? And the answer to that is you could go plus equals 2, or I is equal to I plus 2. Same thing. Okay, but in this case, we're just going to go plus plus. So that's a short way of doing it. Now, here's the next problem. Is when I go and I press play and I run this, I don't particularly like it displaying all of it at once. What if I wanted it to count up?
You have to, yeah, okay, fine.
Now, so in other words, if I said here 3, 5, what if I said count up? I don't want it to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 5. I want it to display 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, questions?
No, what's the question? I know how to do it. I learned it.
Keep the recording. Okay, basically what I got told is that I was just in display, I must just go display. Technically, you can't just go .set text to be
Oh no, you have to clear it first. You have to clear it first.
I, right?
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Because I is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, that might work. I don't know.
And your logic is sound except for one problem. How fast is a computer?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Now, so basically, his logic is sound because, yes, it's going to, now if I go count up to 5, but as soon as I press this, I bet it's just going to display 7. Bam! At some point or another, there was times where it was 1, there was times where it was 2, there was times where it was 3. But it happened so quickly that we didn't see it. So his logic was sound, but
So how do you
nice try, Connie.
we technically need to get it to rest. Now, there is something, now I don't know how it's going to work directly like this, there's something called thread.sleep.
sleep?
Now, sleep is in milliseconds, so now I'm going to say 1,000. Now, realize one thing, the only reason why this works right now is because I've caught catching an exception. If I did a sleep without catching an exception, it would give me a red underline and say, oi, I'm throwing an exception. As is, it's telling me, it's asking me that it doesn't like the idea of what I'm doing. But if I ran this now, 1,000 milliseconds is a second, just for interest's sake. I apologize, this is going to take, it keeps on popping up on the other screen. But if I now run this as 4, count up 1001, 1002, 1003. Oh no, it's not doing anything. 1005. And I can't click anything. Oh, whoa, now it suddenly says 5. Why? One of the reasons why.
Okay. The for loop is sleeping. The for loop is stopping.
Only for 1,000 milliseconds, which is fine.
I don't know.
1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. The problem is we're not updating the display. We have to tell it to update the display. So we'd have to go FRM. Sorry, what is it called? It's called basics, right? Basics, no. Basics. Dot. Now, here's the thing. To repaint it, we go paint. Now, if I go G, it's not going to work. So what we can do is we can say paint basics dot, sorry, basics is with a capital B, dot get graphics. So what I'm doing is I'm saying paint my frame basics using the graphics from paint basics. So this is basically saying repaint yourself. There is a function called repaint, but it doesn't work so well because of the way that it's coded into this, but let's just do it this way for now. Guys, this, you do not have to have a full understanding of.
What is get graphics though?
It gets the physical graphic of that frame.
Okay.
So each frame has a graphic. So right now this graphic has a label in the middle. It has a spinner on the left. It has this here. It has this here. That is all part of the graphic that is being displayed. So when you say .paint, .get graphics, you're saying redraw what was already there. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So now if I go up to 7, now I don't know if this is going to work because there's one thing that I thought I should have put in there. 1001, 1002, 1003. We haven't. 4,
Nice.
5,
but no, that's like
6, 7. Now it's quite slow, so if I wanted to make it quicker, I could make this 500.
Make it 300.
And then if I reran this, I really need to change. This is starting to really irritate me. For this basics frame, I'm going to set a minimum size because I keep on having to make it big and stuff. So I'm going to say minimum size of 600 by 400. 6,000. Just so we have a basic screen size. So when I run it, I don't have to keep resizing it every time before I drag it back over. Okay, so now when I run counts up, it will just go quicker.
So is there any way to get rid of the flashing on the buttons?
What you could do is technically repaint a panel within it and so forth, or remove the panels from a different side of it. You can mess around with that, but yes, because it repaints everything, it does flash the stuff.
Oh, you can specify the panel.
Potentially, I haven't tried around it. You guys can mess around with that. I do know it's possible. There's actually one of the guys from the IT showcase this year, so I'm going to pause this because it's not relevant. Is when I press count up, we now will count up according to this. Now, I want to do count down. How would I do count down?
Minus.
Okay, so I could do the exact same thing, right? So I can go copy, paste, and then all I'd do is I'd say count down, and in my count down, I would start I at max, and I'd end while it is greater than or equal to. And then all I would do is in my design, when I click count down, I would run the count down method, and then when I press, sorry, let me stop running this. So now when I run this, and I press the basic screen, and I say I want to start at 10, and I go count down, it'll go 10, 11, 12.
Oh,
So yeah, I was going to say
He's
minus.
gonna add that first.
beautiful countdown.
This is a never-ending loop, by the way. I've created a never-ending loop, which will never stop, because we'll never get greater than 0.
I think it's one to that.
Now, the reason why
I'm minus.
this here, 100% R minus minus, will decrement, and then it'll count down. So now, let's try that one last time. Basics, up here, put it up to 10, count down. So that was 9, but whatever, 8. Now,
If you make it go slower as it counts down.
okay, yeah, what you could do is you could go, like for example, 50 times I.
What is that?
Well, now,
Okay, so it increases in speed each time.
well, depending if it's a count up or a count down, it will decrease or increment based on I. So as you count down, it will go faster. Well, so it'll be, okay, so let's start at 10, because it'll be 10 seconds nine hundredth of a second, so forth. Okay, so let's try it. And let me close the program first. Play, basic screen, open it up. Let's go to 10, count down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now, what you guys are tasked with doing, this is not for marks, this is just for you learning this, is you are going to create me, remember with the design patterns, we had count down, count up, even. And we had advanced stuff, Fibonacci, and another random number pattern.
Oh, no.
You guys
Please don't tell us to do that.
are going to be coding that.
Fibonacci.
What did I tell you?
Fibonacci, all of them. Oh, yeah, good luck. You only have 10 minutes left. We're going to play a bit more for now. I'm going to answer that gaming question now, but goodbye, YouTube, for now. Say goodbye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.
What's good, guys?
Arigato, Sama-san.
Yeah.